2.5 millennia ago, the Buddha took all this preoccupation with self to be a huge mistake. For one thing, when we try to figure out what the self is, we find that it is elusive, changing, and unstable. When we turn inward, it is hard to put a finger on the single unchanging thing that is the self. To be sure, we are persons, individuals identifiable to ourselves and to others, as long as the self in ourselves is lowercase and indicates a conventional idea of a person rather than a metaphysical reality. Indeed, the mistake comes from thinking that features of language, the reflexive pronoun self and the ubiquitous use of the words I, me, and mine, refer to something ultimately real and essential. When the Buddha analyzed human experience down to its component parts, the parts that make up consciousness, feelings, perceptions, habitual traits, and the physical body, he found no unchanging essence or substrate underlying the constantly changing person. In other words, no self. What is more, he found that our preoccupation with self, our constant efforts to invent and shore up a self, our obsessions with our identities, and our unremitting egoism are a principal, if not the principal, source of pain and suffering in human life. Our modern world encourages self-obsession, and we often imagine that finding oneself is the key to happiness. We carefully curate a unique identity on social media, we encourage one another to assert ourselves, and we think a healthy existence requires a robust sense of ego and self-worth. We are urged to become independent, to stand on our own 2 feet, to think for ourselves. Successful job applicants are experts in self-promotion, and children are told to cultivate self-esteem. We soul-search. Behind this frenetic activity to cultivate and promote a self is a basic insecurity driven by fear and desire. We long for a fixed identity and autonomous essence that rides out the vicissitudes and changes of human life. We imagine that we have a basic core of selfhood that can be cordoned off from others, independent and untouched by the world. We long for an autonomous selfhood that presides over the rest of our experience, and so we labor to construct, fashion, and curate a self.